So, I just rewatched the Twilight saga for actually only the second time. And the thing you need to understand about those movies is Stephanie Meyer, the author, is a Mormon. Now, once you know that, and if you understand a little bit about their theology, and you start unpacking some details of the movie, there's a lot of things in there that are not so good. It's suboptimal to say the least. I'm working my way up to trying to read the actual Twilight novels. I'm not sure I want to, considering after watching the films, I felt like my soul was sucked out of me through the television screen by like racist, homophobic, sexist Mormon theology. Um, that makes you feel like every single course of action you could possibly take in the world is evil and wrong, and you should just crawl into a corner and die and hate yourself for even existing. And it's like, I already feel that way without Twilight, like, making me feel bad. Basically, just because I bother to think about the world other than myself, and it's a pretty scary and terrible place. And I don't know, in my opinion, it's like we are supposed to take responsibility for the planet that we clearly have a high degree of control over, but while simultaneously realizing that we don't control the friggin' universe. Um, I don't think Stephanie Meyer is some evil, terrible person, but like it comes through in those novels just the extent to which like she's one of these people who just wishes everybody would like, do exactly what they want, precisely right now, and them be materially rewarded for that. Um, and it's like, it's hard to explain, but basically, like, okay, Edward is white, and Jacob is Native American, and Jacob is the one that she is like, you know, and like, that's not really the problem. It's that Jacob becomes a stand-in for absolutely everything that she wants to dunk on, right? Which like authors do that sometimes, but that's why I'm just dunking on the author of this particular novel, you know, and so it's like, I don't know. First of all, you can tell from reading it that well, two things happened. First of all, Stephanie Meyer smoked weed and she wasn't supposed to, and second of all, I'm not sure if she did. I think she probably did not, like get an abortion. But there's a lot of things in Twilight that are about abortion. Um, Stephanie Meyer. I mean, I support Stephanie Meyer's right to do both of those things. She does not. I guess I guess she hasn't had an abortion, or I don't know if she has had one. But the entire like the entire New Moon, like part one and two, is basically one long thing about like abortion bad. Just deal with it, and then you'll like become a vampire. Don't worry if your pregnancy is completely unviable. Don't worry if it's gonna kill you. You can just become a vampire, and all of that will go away. Which like if you want to keep your pregnancy, you have the right to do so. Absolutely. However, to try to force other people to keep theirs under circumstances where they know, based on like real evidence, that that is not the right course of action, and it's just not the right thing to do sometimes to carry it to term. And if somebody themselves actually wants to do that, I don't think that society should be telling them they can't. No, because like it's ridiculous. But I don't know. And it really is an individual thing, isn't it? Whether or not that's the right thing to do. And it's like, that's the irony, is that there's a big part of their theology about that I actually like, that is about how the purpose of life is to understand good and evil and right and wrong and to try to do the right thing. It's just that they only believe in the version of, or I should say, I don't want to make sweeping generalizations about Mormon theology, but Stephanie Meyer, based on what she writes in the Twilight franchise, believes in this absolutist morality that makes no exceptions for these highly simplistic rules. And maybe for some people that's how they can guide their morality. But for most people, I think thinking for themselves based on logic and evidence is how they figure out how to do the right thing. And we all use our intuitions ultimately, but there's just something that irks me about somebody constantly saying that the only way to do the right thing is to follow a fixed set of rules that ultimately really means it's to be in on the sort of ground floor of it. And that's kind of the problem with most ideologies, but we're kind of in a world now where we have this nice ecosystem of ideas that I think has developed over the course of human history. And I don't know. I mean, if you just want to know my theology, I'm a Christian that goes to a Lutheran church. It's, you know, there's not any big mysteries there. But I think everybody draws from a lot of things. And I think Twilight is actually an interesting piece of art, but it is very difficult to watch because it thrusts a very simplistic, absolutist view of morality that I think is very damaging for most people's minds in the modern world. But I think it's also wrong to try to completely ignore that and say that they're totally wrong, because that would go against my whole philosophy is about how everybody has something, you know, that they add to the world, and there's a reason that everybody is here, but there's also a reason that people are doing the things they do. And sometimes that means doing things that we maybe find intuitively distasteful, but the outcome ends up being something that is actually better. And we're here on Earth to learn from each other and to learn to live together. And so I don't hate Stephanie Meyer, not even a little bit. I am uncomfortable with some of the ideas she has put forth, and I'm sure I will put forth ideas that will make other people uncomfortable at some point in my life. You know, none of us is perfect, with the possible exception of Jesus, and I couldn't even tell you for sure if he was perfect, because I ain't him, and I wasn't alive 2,000 years ago to even, you know, see that for certain, so what do I even know? Well, what I know is I watched the Twilight Saga, and I felt sad, and now I'm going back to watching Star Trek and Star Wars, and it's making me feel happier. So I don't hate Stephanie Meyer, and I don't hate Twilight, but I think I know the ecosystem of ideas that I want to root my exploration in, and it's just this basic idea that you shouldn't assume anybody is just bad. You should assume that we're here to make decisions and none of us is perfect.